Welcome to the 10-Minute Life Lesson Podcast. My name is Jay Cleveland Payne. I train people for improved personal and professional development, offering my assistance to those ready to develop their goals into tangible, focused, and achievable plans of action. And this podcast is one of the tools I use to accomplish my mission. Generally, when the timer hits 9 minutes and 59 seconds on this recording, you'll have a fully developed life lesson that you can take with you and begin to implement immediately. And if this week's lesson has a ring of familiar, then it's probably a reinforcement of a life change you've already started to implement. This podcast falls under the umbrella of my greater personal development efforts, all under the Your Better You brand. For more information on accountability coaching or to gain access to tools, tricks, and life hacks, visit yourbetteryou.info. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. Now, here is this week's life lesson. After coming out of a recent mental fog, I decided I need to do some serious focus on all this stuff, the work stuff, and particularly the podcasting that I was doing and the workflow process that I had. The best way to describe that is I like to stay ahead of the game and stay ahead of schedule. So I needed to see how much I needed to do to make sure the schedule was working and keep it organized so I could stay ahead of schedule for my production. Number one question: how many podcasts was I actually going to produce in a week's worth of time? And while that seems like a pretty ignorant question, well, apparently I'm the ignorant person, because when I took down and took a look at what I was producing, all of my production and where I was going to, I learned, because somehow I didn't realize it, that I had 6 active podcasts at this moment, with a schedule having 5 posted on a single day and the double on Friday. We may shift that up a bit, but yes, I'm producing 6 of these things of various length and various technicality throughout the week. And while I'm obviously a junkie for creation, audio creation, or writing out things for audio creation at least, it also means I'm spending a lot of time producing things in the week. So that led to another example, another study, if you will, of how the rest of my week was going for the other stuff, the writing, the producing. And as I said, I'm in a moment of clarity, so actually taking care of paperwork that needs to be taken care of. And we saw that a lot of that stuff was not really being taken care of as well. This is not a day where I'm going to complain about my life or my business. This is a day where the lesson is kind of simple, in that you are living your life and I'm living my life and things are going on. But for me, particularly at this point in time, time-wise, literally, I expected to be a bit further down the line in my fame and fortune, for lack of better terms. And I'm not there. But that isn't the problem that I'm going through. The problem is living up to just the journey of getting to the fame and fortune. Because as I've said in many of the lessons, once you get there, you've got to have a reason to continue on. When you get to a there's always a what's next, because if there's not a what's next, then you're probably on the decline as opposed to still going on the way up. So if you look at life, or I'm looking particularly in this business I'm doing, as a continual journey towards improvement, not towards an ultimate goal that you can actually hit, life goes a whole lot better. Things are a whole lot smoother. Your activities and your relationships come out to be a lot more enjoyable once you realize that you have to enjoy the journey of life, because goals are just checkpoints along the way to the ultimate life. Now, you can't really put an end to everything and put a final score until you are in the grave, and then it's not you putting a score on it, it's other people and their perception. So maybe how they see you will be a bit skewed in how you're ranked beyond your years on life, but you can help that out by just being a good dude, being a good person, doing what you can to be a great member of society, number one. It's not just about your journey in life. It's about everybody else's journey in life as well. All these other people are going along with you, whether you really want them to or not. They're there. They're here. You can't get through this thing by yourself. So you might as well make an attempt to enjoy as many of the people around you as you're enjoying the efforts it takes to get to where you're going. They're going through their own struggles and trials along the way that some you may help them with, and sometimes you may be their struggle and trial, believe it or not. But they have to get through what they're going through, and you have to get through what you're going through. And it's all fair when it's all said and done. But what steps can you actually do to make your journey in life a more enjoyable process, as opposed to just being a total grind to get from here to there, from birth to death, without any actual knowledge of where the end is. Because when you don't have an ultimate target, you really don't know when you're going to get there. It's all kind of relative there. Well, number one, you have to accept who you are, what you are, and where you are at this moment, or at the moment that you want to accept this. You will have plenty of different times in your life where you will be different people, if you will, different people in different situations and in literally different places. And you have to kind of learn to live with who you are in the exact moment in time that you are making the observation. And those moments can be very, very brief in time, or they can be long stretches where you're reviewing yourself from a long time ago when you've actually gone through a few things and you've improved on it, or maybe you've gone through some things and it's brought you down and you want to get back to where that is. You have to be able to accept you as the who you are when you are, so you can even move on in your journey and keep it as a journey and not just a stuck destination. Once you get there, you have to have some goal to shoot for. And as we said, the ultimate goal is kind of impossible to hit, because when it's ultimately all said and done, you're ultimately all said and done. But you have to have various things along the way to shoot for, various projects, or various life goals, or various just minor things to hit for. Sometimes it's just, I want to go to this certain place for lunch, and that's all you got going on for the day. And sometimes it's a long-term thing, such as I'm trying to build this company and build a legacy for my kids to continue on. We'll see how well that works out. As far as building the company's there, it's rolling, it's taking care of itself. It could be better, but it also could be worse. I've hit that part. Now it's about making it go better and better day by day, as opposed to just letting it coast and see what happens. And speaking of going day by day and all that, you have to have some ability to take score of how things are going. You need to know where you are in the actual start of the process, where you need to get to in your goals day by day, piece by piece, and how you know if you're doing well or doing not so well. If you're looking at your journey as a little journey on a map, you just point to where you are, point to where you're trying to get to, and see how much distance in between you've gone. If you're moving forward towards that, you're doing great. Moving forward rapidly towards that, that means you have to find a quicker destination, much quicker than you probably planned on. If you're going the wrong direction, you know you're going the wrong direction. Things really are pretty simple. You have to just accept the fact that you are going to be here for a while, or at least assume you're going to be here for a good while, and make sure that you're pacing yourself for some sort of long-term goal, a long-term destination, a long-term life and journey, as opposed to burning out quickly and having nothing to do in the back end. It's a very, very bitter story of many pro athletes who have been gym rats all their life and really didn't buckle down on books and on relationships and on things like that. And then when their careers are over, whether they have a short career shortened by some reason, or they just don't quite get along with people and it just doesn't work out, or maybe they have really long and storied careers, and then they flip out, and they literally flip out. They get into the more or less real world. Some of them still have lots of money, some of them don't, and they don't know how to meander with life after their first life. They spend maybe a good 10, 20 years in a business, and it doesn't work out as well when they're out there just being Joe Schmo guy. This happens with general people in life as well. So business people, those type of folks, deal with the same type of stuff. A person who's worked 20, 30 years in a plant, in an office, in a certain industry that all of a sudden has to retire, finds himself stuck with what to do in retirement. Some may have a good plan on what to do on their next life, and some may figure it out pretty quickly that they can get into something else. But those who don't know how to make it work instantly and don't make it cope, they have the biggest issues going on there. They're the ones that have a long, great journey in what they had going on, but then they had to make a pit stop and they had to change course, and now all of a sudden they are stuck and don't know what's going on. Don't put yourself in those such situations, but also don't shortchange yourself with short-term goals that are really, really short. Think of your life as a long-term journey. And of course, you don't know the actual timeline. You have to work on that. So you have to kind of plan accordingly. But think of what you're doing is a long-term thing, a long-term journey, a long-term project that is going in and out of its things, sometimes in a downswing, sometimes an upswing. But keep in mind that you only have one life to put out here, at least at this time. And so you want to make sure that life and the journey in that life is fruitful and it's fun and it's definitely enjoyable for you to go through it, because you don't know when it's all going to be at the end. Thank you for joining us for the podcast. This week was a bit rambly. I apologize for that because as I went into it, I realized I had more than 10 minutes or technically 9 minutes worth of notes to squeeze into the 10-minute life lesson. And we always promise a lesson that you can take away in 10 minutes. So hopefully there's something that is really good to take away, a nice little nugget or two in the middle that you can take away and move on with it. Hopefully you did get that. The fact that you have to recognize where you are and see where you want to go and then plan for it. That's essentially how this thing goes with life. I recognize where I was in the business. I see where I'm trying to go, and now I'm trying to get everything settled. Yeah, doing all these audio pieces are taking a big chunk of time, but we're trying to do as many of them in a good session of planning so we can batch up as many of these as possible. Only one of them is actually time sensitive. Most of these are evergreen, so I can do a few at a time, which is how I do this podcast. Mostly do them a few weeks at a time, so they are ahead of time. I can just watch them go live. It's supposed to be rushed to get them in on the mornings that they are live to go. If you want more information about all that stuff, check out my website, jclevelandpayne.net, and check out the brand new growing morebettermedia.net, which is essentially what we're doing with this, a rebranding of the old company stuff. More or less why I'm trying to get things together in the sense I have this moment of clarity to get all the company things in company order. For the Your Better You brand and for all the stuff inside of this podcast and the Your Better You brand, remember 2 podcasts in one whole setting, and that's where all the life coaching and personal development coaching and those types of studies are held. YourBetterYou.info is the website for that. 2 podcasts, this one, of course, 10-minute life lessons, and, of course, Steps Your Better You, if even shorter, 90 seconds to a great lesson. And you can check out the links inside of the website for coaching and other things there as well. You can email me via this thing by going to yourbetteryouinfo@gmail.com or email me directly for jclevelandpayne at jclevelandpayne@gmail.com. That's exactly how that goes. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and we're pretty much done. Apologies for the rambly nation on this one. Like I said, a moment of clarity, and now I'm stuck with cleaning up the mess made from the moment of clarity. So we got some more planning to do, more work going on for a lot of projects, especially for this one. And thank you so much for being with this one. We'll have a less rambly episode next week, a less mumbling episode as well, for the 10-minute life lessons coming to you from yourbetteryou.info.